Steel Toes is brought to you by PCL Construction.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Women in Steel Toes, episode 11. Today we're here with Conor Kehoe from the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. He is an OYAP coordinator, and today he's going to tell us a little bit about the OYAP program and how you can get involved. So Conor, can you start off by just saying what OYAP is and what it does for students?
Hi, Laura. Thanks. Yeah, OYAP stands for Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, and it's kind of an all-encompassing program run through the Ministry of Labor, Trade, and Skills Development, designed to help students discover, explore, and engage with careers in the skilled trades across all different sectors. So, you know, that will involve some promotional events to introduce younger students to the skilled trades and like an updated look at what careers in the skilled trades are these days. It includes certifications and training opportunities for students who are, let's say, you know, 14, 15, with an eye on entering into the skilled trades later on in high school, you know, getting them working at heights, Ontario food safety training. Depending on your sector, there's a lot of certifications that younger students can kind of get under their belt and get on their resume. And then OYAP works closely with Co-op and SHISM, Specialist High Skills Major. It's just a program that works with tech classes, and OYAP basically assists students that are going into co-op placements in the skilled trades with you know, expenses like new work boots. Maybe they need help with transportation to get to their placement. Sometimes it can be, you know, a connection to someone in the industry that will help that student get their start. And so, yeah, in a basic overview, that's kind of what the OYAP program is designed to be. And really, it's about that discovery, exploration, and engagement.
So a point I want to touch on is you mentioned courses like food prep courses. And when I looked at the OYAP website, one thing I noticed is when I think of skilled trades, I'm thinking, you know, carpentry, plumbing, and red seal trades, specifically like more in a construction world, but it applies to so much more than that. You have like hairdressers on there. You have so many more trades.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 144 trades that kind of fall under recognized skilled trades in the province of Ontario, and they fall into 4 sectors, which is construction, which you're working in, so you'll be very familiar with that. There's hospitality, which is, you know, chef, food prep, pastry chef. It can also be meat cutting, you know, like there's a lot of different kind of specialized trades that don't necessarily aren't necessarily well known, but they're in those sectors. There's manufacturing, you know, which would be tool and die maker, millwright, you know, and a lot of, I mean, the list is actually really interesting when you go on the site and kind of go through it. And then the last one, last sector would be motive power. So that's kind of heavy truck and coach mechanic, automotive mechanic, small engines. And, you know, like the division kind of makes sense when you see the list. And, you know, there's some random ones like saddle maker or saddlery, you know, beekeeping, horticultural technician, you know, so there's something to kind of match any student's interest. And there's certifications for all of those trades. We do a lot of working at heights for our students, for students going into the construction industry, or, you know, even there's a red seal that you can get for lumber supply yards, you know, so even if there's a lot of flexibility there. And really, that's why it's important for students to kind of know about it and then lead the discussion. You know, if they need support, they reach out to us and we help them try and get the certifications they need. Mostly WIMIS, Working at Heights, Ontario Food Safety, and some LIFT courses as well are often kind of on people's top 5 list.
So that's pretty cool. When a student comes, how do they find out about this program through the high schools? Is this something where there is an information day? How does that process all roll out?
Yeah, absolutely. Like we do as many kind of promotion, discovery, highlight days as we can. So I've done a lot of virtual presentations this year, obviously, where I come to class. I talk about my own career in the skilled trades. I'm a red seal stonemason. I worked on the West Block rehabilitation uh, project. And so I share my own experience, and then I share kind of some general points for, say, students that don't really know what the skilled trades are. We go through all 4 sectors and try and kind of cover whatever interests those students. We've also done a lot of guest speaker interviews through our XL Live platform, where we talk to former OCDSB students, current OCDSB students, and just industry experts who kind of talk about how they got into the trade, what they did in high school to prepare for it, and like just try and share some of that experience. So if students are kind of going through similar journeys, or if they're looking to do the same things, they can have something to go off that's coming from real life. We've also done some amazing kind of in-person events when possible. Not as many this year, obviously, but hands-on workshop style events where students, we've had amazing collaboration from the industry. So a lot of unions, a lot of companies, really most people, when they're approached to kind of help set up these workshops to share what their trade looks like for an hour with students, we've had amazing cooperation. So, we have students who hold a trowel and lay bricks for the first time, or they're doing welding on real, using real equipment under the supervision of qualified experts from the field at some of the shops that we have at the OCDSB. We had kind of automotive workshops going on, cooking workshops, and in all of them you can see not only kind of these students have really interesting discovery moments where, let's say, they do their first TIG weld, or they're on like a 3D virtual welder, and they kind of look up and they're really, that you can see the satisfaction or kind of achievement there. And you, like at the cooking workshop, you can see these industry experts really having like getting something fulfilling out of the experience of teaching students who may not have ever done anything like that. And in some cases, like the automotive workshop led directly to one of the students who was, she was a young woman who was very accomplished in the garage already, and it led directly to kind of a mentorship and co-op placement for that student coming out of the workshop, because, the industry person, she could see that this young woman was kind of really sharp and very passionate about the trade. So it's, those kinds of things are what we've mostly been doing to get onto people's radar, and trying to share it all through our OCDSBXL website on a YouTube channel. So students can kind of, if they can't attend the event, they can go and still get something out of the resource after the fact.
That's got to be such an amazing feeling too, to see kids come through that had no idea what was going on before and actually get on the tools, get that experience, and get a feel for what it's really like.
Yeah, I mean, every time, they're kind of the preparation is intense, obviously, because you're trying to like coordinate 12, like many different trades across many different sectors. The school has to cooperate as well, so it involves a huge kind of team and a lot of time from industry, school, admin staff, everyone. But when it comes together, it's undeniable. Even if that person's not going to like end up a welder later in life, it's still kind of a worthwhile experience that people get out of it. And, it kind of changes people's minds, when you walk in someone's shoes, or when you hold someone's trowel, I guess.
You get that whole new appreciation for someone else's choices.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the work that goes into it. It's not as easy as it looks half the time.
Yeah, it gives you a different understanding of just like the time and kind of the nature of the work, and that's pretty interesting too. We had a great event with the Ottawa Construction Association. They have like a yearly trade show and symposium, and they did a really, they partnered with us and really kind of gave students a place at the table for that event. And that's really, really important to highlight because, like maybe it could be a situation where, yeah, okay, you can have some students attend. This is where they can go, this is where they can't go. But it was a very different kind of feeling. They had a whole youth engagement zone where up to 30 different trades, companies, unions all showed up and showed out. They brought all their kind of most engaging kind of setups and demo areas. PCLs was amazing. They had like, drone technology and 3D virtual kind of really engaging and welcoming for young students, which is kind of an important just an important angle when you're trying to show what everyone who is in the trades loves about them. So that was a great event as well. We have some great footage on our Excel YouTube channel, and we always do our best to kind of recognize and thank our partners, because it makes for a really different feel when you have the authentic tools and setup and experts there to help students.
Yeah, because those experts are just as excited about their new toys as everyone else.
Yeah, everyone, you need to go shine them up and show them off. It is cool.
Exactly. So with this program, like you're getting them into the co-op placements, you're helping them with that, helping them get their training. And then after that, the hours that they're accumulating as well are also used towards any apprenticeship afterwards, is my understanding?
Yeah, absolutely. And in some cases, we're trying to set up so that, it helps certain students who are really kind of passionate or knowledgeable about their trade early on. It helps those students get set up to actually be level 1 registered apprentices, either in their last year of school or at completion of their high school diploma. And the way it works is kind of, if you have an OYAP student who is going into their placement, let's say they're going into their placement as a hairdresser. So they would sign an OYAP participation form to become an OYAP participant. Then we can help with, those certifications and kind of non-slip shoes if they need them, those kinds of basic things. If the placement is working out for that student and the employer who's kind of taken them on as a co-op employee, if that's working out, then you sign the section 2, which makes that student a registered OYAP apprentice, basically making them eligible for apprenticeship. And then as that kind of co-op placement progresses, if the student is still working out, the employer is on board, I help them kind of become eligible to sponsor the student, and then they can sign a registered training agreement. And that's kind of the officially provincial recognition of a student as a level 1 apprentice. And all those hours that they've worked through their co-op placements, let's say they start in grade 11, they're counted, until they complete high school. So if you have the right student who's doing co-op placements as early as the second half of grade 11, they could have almost a year and a half of hours counted towards their apprenticeship. And they're leaving high school pretty much eligible for their first block of schooling, which will be different from a lot of the trades. Like for HVAC, you might need 2,400. For masonry, you need 1,200 hours. All those things will be different, but you're in a good place, and you also kind of you're set up as a recognized level 1 apprentice, which can sometimes be difficult if you want to get into the trades, but you don't have an apprenticeship signed.
Yeah, and that just gives, like, if the student knows what they want, they can go right after it, and it really gives them that leg up to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, if I was leaving high school at 17, and in some cases, like our brick and stone program, we work directly with the OMTC, the Ontario Masonry Training Center. And so those students that are interested in the masonry apprenticeship, we kind of put out like a call and do a selection process where students apply. We go over resume, experience, basically like you would with any job. And we get a cohort of candidates together, and those students then go to their level 1 schooling block. Basically the same thing as you would do as a mason in the industry, only you're doing it in grade 11 or 12, if you have the right experience. And so you're going through that program. You're at the Ontario Masonry Training Center sponsored masonry shop at Ottawa Technical Secondary School. And those students do the same thing as you would in your industry level 1 masonry schooling block. You go to class for a couple hours in the morning, and then you're on the shop floor for the rest of the day, practicing, mixing, slinging mud, block walls, brickwork. You're learning all of the language, the terms, the techniques, and theory that kind of goes into it. And the students that kind of go through that process, they write a level 1 final exam, just like you would in the industry. And then they go out on a placement with companies that are, great, like, great partners to us, and take on the students that are ready for the workplace. And, in the right year, you can have 4 or 5 kind of registered level 1 apprentices come out of one cohort. And, it's pretty amazing to see students leaving with level 1 apprentices and kind of knowing where their next step is. Some go directly to the company that they did their co-op placement with, and they can be a full red seal in 3 or 4 years out of high school if it goes the right way.
Which is crazy to think about, because like you're giving these kids such a leg up. Like if they're decisive and they know that that's what they want to do, they can really use this to a big advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if it's, it's something that they end up, maybe they do, because it works for them for the time being, and they complete and they go on to have a career in masonry, like that's fantastic. You're getting into it so early. And even for some students who maybe you do it for 3 or 4 years or 5 years, you get your red seal and realize I want to go back to university or college. You can get paid for those 4 or 5 years and still decide to go on to other kind of post-secondary pathways. And, it beats working at a bunch of different jobs. Like, I don't know about you, but my experience was, I worked in many different kind of jobs, the mall, outside, taking construction jobs here and there, but if you have that place to kind of focus your time and energy that early, it can be really kind of helpful for those students. So really interesting.
It's good money.
Yeah.
It beats working minimum wage jobs, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I find too, like you just gain a whole range of experience when you get out there as well. So even though you don't go directly into post-secondary education, if that's what you choose to do after, you're still getting experience in the workforce and different techniques and appreciation for the trades.
Yeah, and I think it's great that like OYAP is kind of helping students, parents, teachers realize that it's not an either or type of situation, that you don't have to choose only the skilled trades or only university or college. Like there's a lot of places where all three pathways align, and it's just kind of finding out what works for each different student and supporting them however we can.
Exactly. So I have to ask now, because I know you're in the trades yourself, you're a mason, you're on West Block. What advice would you give to someone just getting into the trades? What excited you most about it?
Well, I would give the advice to students who are in high school to start with your tech classroom and, take as many tech classes as you can in different sectors too, carpentry, food prep, manufacturing, design, wherever those options are available, I would take them, and you kind of find out what interests you. And then as you start to get a better idea of maybe which skilled trades you want to pursue, I would try and approach them kind of like a job, going to class with that kind of mindset of learning how to work when you're in the classroom, and using the supports that are available, through your guidance counselor or co-op teacher at OYAP. There's money to get all the certifications you can kind of handle with your schedule, get working at sites, get WIMIS, get forklift training if you're eligible for it, and put all that stuff on your resume, and and just try and work with the supports that are there, because we can help you while you're in high school, and then you're just better set up for when you're leaving high school. For someone who's starting off like in the trades as an apprentice, my own experience is get ready for a challenge. The lifestyle is going to be different than what you're used to. Whether that involves like the wake up times, your level of energy that you expend at work, all the different skills, terminology, and just those very specialized things that you don't realize until you're in that world. Like I remember hearing people talk about heights and, plumb, level, like, what they're talking about, but you don't understand how important those kind of concepts are, and just the pace of everything is different. So get ready for a challenge, and it takes kind of, it takes commitment, it takes some humility, because if you go in thinking that you kind of know what's going on, you're going to run into people who have been in that trade for 20 years, and maybe they've received experience from people who have been in the trade for 50 years, so there is a lot to handle. And I don't think the expectation is like you have to know everything as a first year apprentice, but you want to bring energy, you want to be a good team member, you want to get ready for work every day, and just be committed to kind of learn and put your best effort forward every day. It's kind of a slow process at first, and it can be challenging, but for me, like, that challenge was more than like, I literally remember in my first 2 weeks, like thinking, I don't know if I can do this, but at the same time, like, I would wake up to go in, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour early to make up for my lack of speed in some things, you know, like I'd go, and I just remember there's a lot to learn, and there's definitely some hard, challenging moments, but you know, those victories are so sweet when you start to get something, when you start to understand, when you get your first shot at a build or cutting stone, or you know, when you put in that time, some of the rewards can be amazing. And for me, it was like, you know, life changing. It stabilized me financially. I felt confident learning all these new skills. You learn how to be part of a team. We were working on the West Block Parliament building, you know, like we don't have many great cathedrals in North America. So, you know, this is an important building, and I just have so many great memories and moments. Like even when I walk around the building, I can kind of point out sections where, you know, I remember I was an apprentice going from level 1 to level 3 on this one wall, and you know, a few other Mason secrets there.
There's definitely, and those lessons learned are carried over too to center block, because you know that was the first time those buildings had been touched in so long. So you guys really pulled through on that experience as well and learned as you went, because I know that was a challenge.
Yeah, and that's part of like the kind of that's kind of what's so inspiring, or you know, like engaging about the work itself. There's definitely stuff that you're going to come across, no matter how experienced you are, that's going to be, hey, we have to assess this, let's talk about it. You know, you have to communicate with people and figure out solutions on the fly, because there's big deadlines. And you know, like it's always better when, you know, let's say the work is kind of hectic because it's fast paced and there's a lot going on, but you're making good progress. You know, that's kind of a great place to be, and you can feel it on site when things are humming a bit.
Yeah, it's that excitement level. You see the progress, you see everything you've worked so hard towards, and just all closes out. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I could talk for hours about all of those kind of moments, of those small moments of triumph, you know, and really it's like being an OYAP coordinator is trying to help students who, you know, have a feeling they might want to try something, or they're curious, helping those students find the skilled trade area that they want to get into, and hopefully they can experience kind of those challenges and moments of triumph themselves.
Brings people, it shows people like how it's done and gives them that excitement too. One last question before we close out.
Sure.
So because now you've mentioned it, I want to know, what's your favorite memory from being in the trades? Like, what's your favorite moment?
I don't know. I think there was a moment where we were working on December 23rd. Okay. So like the day before Christmas, you know what it's like on site. Um, you know, you're getting work done, and often people will kind of, my supervisors were like, you know, make sure that you have your head in the game on these last kind of 2 days here. It's important to just kind of work safely, be aware, be conscious. Like I learned a great kind of culture of safety in the work that we were doing, and the approach that maybe I didn't know about before working on the West Block project. And that it just changes the way you kind of approach problems and the way you work. I don't know, it's interesting. But we were up on this south vent tower in, you know, we had taken this tower apart piece by piece and gone, you know, several stories down. And then we had, you know, had to work together to figure out a way to go back up with the tower making changes along the way, having new stones cut for it. So a huge project. And we were kind of like in the last like 3 or 4 stones that we had to lay. And I just remember like all the people that we were with, and we got it done kind of that day. And it was like, wow, I can't believe this is the last stone, you know? And just kind of knowing the start to finish of it and everything that went into it is very satisfying. And you know, it wasn't like we were like cheering like we just won the Stanley Cup, you know, but there was kind of a moment of satisfaction, and there's some pride, and you know, like it was great, good feeling. But I have so many moments of like there's laughs despite some bad news that you get sometimes, like unforeseen developments, and you know, just a great team and a great way to work. So many, like we had scaffolding all the way up to the top of the Mackenzie Tower, you know, and I was eye to eye with the Peace Tower off the scaffolding at one point, and walking to work across the newly installed glass kind of covering that's now the House of Commons ceiling skylight, and walking across to go and you know, do my day's work. So lots of different moments, and you know, maybe there's a book in there somewhere, but I won't keep going on about it.
That glass ceiling is amazing. I think I'm gonna link a picture of it in the description of this, because when people see it, they'll understand what that means. It's really cool looking.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I have lots of you know, I have a few pictures of kind of some of the moments there too. So if you're looking for that kind of photos to support the mental imagery, I think I can come up with a few.
That'd be great to see. So thank you, Conor, very much for joining us. I'll link the XL Live program below, and then I'll link the website for OYAP as well. So if you're interested, you can go and check it out, see what it's all about. And yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, I really appreciate you putting me on the platform here and giving me a chance to kind of share the message. And you know, I think the work that you're doing with your podcast as an ambassador and an insider is really impressive. So thanks again for having me on.
Thanks, Conor. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Okay, you too. See ya.
Bye.